Peace to the online audience, and what a joy it is to greet you. Welcome to the 2021 Pastors and Leaders Conference right here at the Berean Christian Church, Stone Mountain. You are a part of track number 1, and I am teaching a class entitled Advancing Your Church Finances, Advancing Your Church Financially. And trust that you've able to download the outline. If not, go to kblconference.org and it will give you the instructions on how to do that. A couple of people are here in the sanctuary, and trust that you got an outline. Do y'all have an outline for this class right here? You got the one for this class here? Advancing Your Church Finance? I think they're in the back, Tony. I think they're in the back. And make sure they get an outline for this particular class. We have other classes going on at the same time, and I want to give you a rundown of those classes. Number 1, Adapting Outreach to Fit the Current Times. It's a class on how to set up an outreach ministry where you can minister in the climate in which we live. And then developing systems to care for your members. Who needs care in your church? All members. Everybody needs care. And we want to share with you different systems, different avenues, different routes that can be taken for you to care for your members. And then planning ministry events and activities in this COVID-19 season. And then at 1 o'clock, we will shift gears, and we'll do 4 more classes. And then we'll come back tonight at 6 p.m. I want to say thank you for your viewership. I want to say thank you for your support. We decided in light of what's going on with the pandemic to make the 2021 Pastors and Leaders Conference all virtual. And then we decided to make it free. So I want to say thank you for your support. If you desire to sow a seed, if you desire to help us with the expenses of our conference, you can go on our church website, BereanChristianChurch.org, and give. We got several platforms for you to give on, or you can give by way of our Cash App, $AWFTT, which is a word for the times. No amount is too small, no amount is too big, and thank you. We literally have people watching us now from all over the globe. And we embrace modern technology that allows us to do it, and you can watch right from the comfort of where you are. So thank you for your support. I trust you printed out your outline. We're going to cover 3 different sections on today. This class is designed to share measures churches can take to strengthen and grow their fiscal resources. This class is designed to share measures that churches can take to strengthen and grow their fiscal resources. And I want to look at 3 different areas. Number 1, leadership needed to advance your church financially. The leadership that's needed to advance your church financially. Roman numeral number 2, partnership needed to advance your church financially. Partnership. And then finally, stewardship needed to advance your church financially. Those are the 3 sections that we will cover. And we trust that you will stay engaged and stay a part of what we are doing. Money is so important in the life of the church. And when it comes to money, I have developed some sayings just to talk about the importance of money. One saying is, ain't nothing funny when you ain't got no money. How many agree with that? Ain't nothing funny when you don't have no money. Ain't nothing funny when you don't have no money. Here's the second saying. There is no joke when you're flat broke. There is no joke when you are flat broke. Anybody ever been there? Anybody ever been there? Ain't nothing funny when you don't have no money, and there is no joke when you are flat broke. And then here's the third one. Here's the third one. It's hard for him to turn her on when stuff at the house is being turned off. Which one you like best? Which one you like best? Which one you like? It's hard for him to turn her on when stuff at the house is being turned off. And you can apply that for the most part personally to somebody's personal finances. But guess what? You can also apply that to the church's finances, the church's finances. And one subject that many churches are afraid to address is the subject matter of money. The subject matter of money. There are a lot of different subjects that we address before we feel comfortable addressing money. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people are so fearful many times, pastors and leaders, for addressing money? Pastor Sean, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? What do you think that is? They're afraid that it'll go down. Afraid that it'll go down. I like that. Pastor Tommy, why do you think? Why do you think it is? Why do you think that is?
Fear something might happen.
Fear something might happen? Yeah. And one of our biggest fears sometimes is that what? People will leave. People will leave. People will not support. And sometimes we say, you know what? Let's just leave well enough alone. Let's just leave well enough alone. Watch this. But if you broke, what's well about that? You talk about let's leave well enough alone. Ain't nothing well. Ain't nothing. Earl, why do you think it is that sometimes we're afraid to address the subject of money in church?
Because people, again, you're afraid that they might leave you.
Afraid that people might leave? Yeah. Yeah. And the Bible says my people perish for what? A lack of knowledge. A lack of knowledge. And isn't it amazing? Out of all the mandatory courses that you have to take in elementary school, that you have to take in middle school, that you have to take in high school, that you have to take in college, not too many courses are mandatory on the subject of money. As a matter of fact, in most schools, they don't even cover money at all. Money at all. And if the church is afraid to talk about it, then it causes people, I'm not getting it at school, I may not be getting it at home, and I'm not even getting it at the place of worship. Somebody has rightfully said 2 subjects that we are afraid to address from the pulpit are sex and money. And most people are somewhere trying to get more of both. You agree with that? You agree with that? How many of you interested in one? How many interested in one? How many of you want the combo pack? So I want to address how you can advance the finances in your church. And I want to look, first of all, at the leadership that's needed. Because John Maxwell says that everything, and we know that most things, he says everything, I venture to say that most things rise and fall on leadership. The reason why I say most things is because we've seen places, whether it was a business, whether it was a church, whether it was a team or a sports organization, that they necessarily didn't have a good leader, but they still succeeded. We've seen nations sometime that did not have a good leader, but the nation still did well. So I think it's a little extreme to say everything rises and falls on leadership, because there are places where there hasn't been a good leader and things have gone well. Things did not fall. But I would venture to say that most things rise and fall on leadership. Let's look at leadership needed. Listed below are actions. Highlight that word. Listed below are actions senior pastors can take to advance the church financially. Listed below are actions senior pastors can take to advance the church financially. I want to give you 5 actions, and these 5 actions are in alphabetical order, and not so much in order of priority. Number 1, casting the vision regarding money publicly is an action senior pastors can take to advance the church financially. Casting the vision. When you cast the vision, what are you really doing? You're painting a picture. You're painting a picture. You are providing an illustration of what something should look like. And in every church, it is the role of the senior pastor to cast a vision regarding money, and you've got to do it publicly. And let me help you here. Guess when the best time to do that? Sunday morning. Now, many people try to cast the vision during board meeting, whether it's with the deacons or a joint board meeting with the trustees or with the leaders, or with the staff. But when do we see the majority of people at our church? Sunday morning. So we don't see the majority of our people at church at Bible study. We don't see the majority of our people at a leadership council. We don't see the majority of our people at a church conference. The majority of our members show up Sunday morning. And you have to not be afraid to say something about money and cast a vision. Revelations 1:19, look at what the writer John says. Write, therefore, what you've seen, what is now, and what will take place later. Write. Do you see vision? Write, therefore, what you have seen, what is now, and what will take place later. Guess what you see in that passage? You see the past, you see the present, and you see the future. Do you see all 3 right there in that passage? The past, the present, and the future. He says, write therefore what you've seen. What is that? The past. He says, write therefore what is now. What is that? The present. And then he says, write therefore what will take place later. What is that? The future. And as a senior pastor, you should not be afraid to cast the vision publicly regarding finances. Because in most churches, who's generally the most influential person? The pastor. It's the pastor's voice that they hear every week. So when it comes down to talking about money, the pastor should say something. The pastor needs to say something. Can I give you a practical reason why the pastor should say something? Because if the money ain't right, guess who they getting rid of? Anybody feel me out there? If the money not, now watch this. We like to say that we are the senior pastor of the church, and that's true. And if you organize a church, like I organize Berean, like some of you organize your church, you're not only the senior pastor, but you are the founder. You are the organizer. Or sometimes we like to say we are the CEO. We are the chief executive officer. Can I give you another title that you don't hear a lot? You are the CFR. What is that? The chief what? The chief fundraiser. The chief fundraiser. The chief, boy, you wasn't familiar with that, right? You are the chief fundraiser. And you got to cast the vision. All right, we good with number 1? We ready to move to number 2? Letter H, holding leaders accountable for their giving faithfully. Now you got to cast the vision publicly, but you got to hold leaders accountable faithfully. Is an action pastors can take to advance the church financially. Holding leaders accountable. Titus 1:5, the writer says, for this cause I left you in Crete, that you should do what? Set in order the things that are lacking. Paul says to Titus, for this reason I left you in Crete to set in order. What's one job of a pastor? To set stuff in order. Now let me help you. If the job of the pastor is to set some stuff in order, that means as a pastor, you're going to deal with some stuff that's what? Out of order. And it's your job to set it in order. And one thing I think every pastor needs to set in order is holding the leaders, holding the front line leaders, whether they're the staff, whether they are the ministry coordinators, whether they are the people, whatever you call them at your church, presidents, ministry heads, holding them accountable. Let me share something that we do. You can take down number 2. Let me share with you one thing that we do here to hold leaders accountable for their giving. At the beginning of the year, we give them a document, and the document shares that as a leader of the Berean Christian Church, leaders are required to pay their tithes. And we want to ask you these questions. Will you pay your tithes once a month? Will you pay your tithes weekly? Or will you pay your tithes twice a month? And you just mark off on which one. And then the other question is, how much will your tithes be? How much will your tithes be? And you mark off whether it's $50, whether it's $75. Now keep in mind, you just said whether or not you were going to pay them once a week, twice a month, or monthly. We don't give quarterly as an option. Come on, we don't give annual. Once every 6 months. We don't give that as an option. So if somebody marks off that they're going to do it twice a month, and they say that their tithe is $50, we know that from that individual, we should see at least what coming in on a course of a month? $100. That's just tithes. We don't even talk about offering. That's just tithes. That's what you owe God. Then at the bottom, there's a line on the paper that says this. My signature at the bottom of this gives you permission to hold me accountable for what's on this paper. Knowing that if I go against what's on this paper, it could result in me losing my ministry position. Accountability. And for the most part, we take your paper for what you said. And we only come back and address something with you if after reading your paper, it looks like you haven't been honest. See, we may know more about you. You may say, I'm going to give $25 a week. But we may know that you work somewhere where you make $1,000 a week. $1,000 a week, okay? So we want to know, is this reflective of a true tenth? Or if you are making, you say you're going to get $20 a week, which means you're making $200, maybe we need to be talking to you about some career opportunities. Come on, because the Bible says what? In all you're getting, get an understanding. Holding ministry leaders accountable. And sometimes it's hard for pastors to do this, but what makes it easier, what should make it easier, is their lack of giving influences the type of ministry that you can offer. And the type of ministry that you offer impacts whether or not the church is interested in leaving you there as their leader. Unless, of course, it's a church where, you organize. I happen to organize the Berean Christian Church, but I pastored a church where I didn't organize. So I've seen both sides. I was a part of a church that I didn't organize, and they took steps to get rid of me, to get their church back the way they wanted it. Here at Berean, I really don't have to worry about that. I tell them every now and then, if they get rid of me, I'll burn this bad boy down. And just to let them know I'm a man of my word, every now and then I strike a match in a meeting. Holding leaders accountable. Why do you have people who work for the church and get paid by the church, but don't tithe back to the church? They get paid because of the tithes, and they don't even give back to the church. Leaders, holding leaders accountable. Number 3, offering classes on money consistently. Offering classes on money consistently. Now you're casting the vision publicly. You're holding leaders accountable faithfully. But you're offering classes on money, what? Consistently is an action pastors can take to advance the church financially. Notice Acts 28:23. Paul and the people chose a day for a meeting. And on that day, many more of the Jews met with Paul at the place he was staying. Watch this. He spoke to them how long? All day long. Using the law of Moses and the prophets and the writings, he explained to them the kingdom of God. And he tried to persuade them to believe these things about Jesus. My point to you is, Paul had class going on. And you should not be afraid to have classes on the subject matter of money. What are some different avenues that we have? You can take it down. What are some different avenues we have for classes to teach money in our church? What are some different avenues we have? We have what? Bible study. Come on, what else? Small groups. What else? What do many churches used to have right before church? Sunday school. Sunday. We've got all kind of avenues. And watch this. Here's what you need to know about Sunday school. Here's what you need to know about small groups. Here's what you know about Bible study. Everybody's not coming. It blew me away when we were doing Sunday school and we still had multiple services, how there were people who would come to the early service at 8 o'clock. This is when our service was at 8 and 11. We've since had to change our times. We had service at 8 and 11, and Sunday school was at 9:30. And then worship was at 11. You would have people who would come for 8 o'clock, and after 8 o'clock, instead of going to Sunday school, guess where they would go? Home. And then you would have people who would come early to get a seat for the 11 o'clock. But instead of going to Sunday school, they just wait in the sanctuary. My point to you is this. Everybody's not coming to small groups. Everybody's not coming to Sunday school. Everybody's not coming to Bible study. But where are the majority of your people coming? Sunday morning worship. So what's my point? Don't let all your teaching on money be restricted to what? The avenues and the routes that your members don't support. So you're going to have to address money on a Sunday morning. And know that when you address it, may not be a lot of amens that Sunday. Know that when you address it, church may be a little dry, may be a little dull. Watch this. And when you preach about money on Sunday morning, let them go early. Let them go. Don't keep them long, because you're already talking about a subject that they ain't feeling. Let them go early. Can I give you another tip that has helped the Berean Christian Church? Whenever we preach about money on a Sunday morning, take your offering up at the end of service. I don't know when you regularly take up your offering. For the most part, our offering is always taken up in the middle. But whenever we address the subject of money, take up the offering afterwards. Because you give people an opportunity to what? To do better right away. To do better right away. See, you've already taken up the offering. Now you're going to preach on money, and then they're going to say, next week I'm going to do better. And guess what happened? They don't come next week. They don't come. So you need to hold leaders accountable, and then you need to offer classes. And if you want a list of classes that you could teach, boy, I'd be more than happy to supply you with what we have taught. Somebody told me just the other day, Pastor, I just can't believe you're offering this free, and then you're offering resources that you have available to people free. Why do you do all that? I said, because God has blessed me abundantly, God has blessed me uniquely, and God has blessed me graciously. God has blessed me abundantly. I'm way further or farther. I don't know which one it is in that context, farther or further, but I'm way, whichever word it is, up the road than I ever thought I would be. God has blessed me abundantly. But then God has blessed me uniquely. God has blessed me in some very creative ways, and to be able to do some creative things. And he's done it all by his grace. And I feel I owe it to people to share principles and practices that have been a blessing to me. We talk about offering classes. You know what? I was talking with one of the leaders of our church who is very skilled in teaching finances. Minister Earl Moulton. He serves as an armor bearer, but he's a financial planner by profession. And I give you license to contact him because he'll do a great job coming to your church teaching about finance. One of the most gifted teachers I know in the area of finance, and can present it in a biblical and a practical way. And I was just sharing with him, next year for 2022, I want to once a month, offer classes to our church virtually, offer classes to our church in person, and each month addresses an angle of enhancing your finances. And I told him I want them all to end with the word ING. Bettering your finances through saving. Bettering your finances through budgeting. Ooh, you ready for this one? Bettering your finances through tithing. Come on. Bettering your finances through insuring. There's a lot of information that our churches, our members just don't know about insurance. Yes. Bettering your finances through investing. And I've given him that task to go out and find the information and work on it. And he's going to do it. And once he does it, I'm going to compile it and make a book with my name on it only. My point is, our people perish for not a lack of preaching, not a lack of good music, for a lack of knowledge. And we got to help people learn more about money. All right, here's number 4. Preaching on the subject of money regularly is an action pastors can take to advance the church financially. Preaching on money regularly. Now notice, you're offering classes consistently. You're holding leaders accountable faithfully. You're casting the vision publicly, but you're preaching regularly. I don't know what works best for you. Here, once a month, one month out of the year, our subject matter is money. 1 month out of the year. And it's generally in March, because the first Sunday in April is always what we call First Fruit Sunday. And First Fruit Sunday for us is when people pay their tithes. If you've never paid your tithes before, you pay your tithes. But the big thing is people give a sacrificial offering on that day. A sacrificial offering on that day. And first Sunday in April, we always see whatever our budget is, we always see our money double, sometimes quadruple. Because for the whole month of March, we've preached on money. And then first Sunday in April, we bring it to a climax, we bring it to a close with First Fruit Sunday and give people an opportunity to everybody pay their tithes. If you've never paid your tithes before, on that day you pay your tithes, and then you give a sacrificial offering. And we also say on that day, your offering can exceed your tithe. Your tithe is always what? 10%. 10%. All these people talking about I give 5% and I'm working my way up to 10. You ain't tithing. A tithe is 10%. And then those people who say that my tithe is 15%. No, your tithe is 10%. That other 5% is your offering. And it's okay for your offering to exceed your tithes. You know what I share with the members? God is okay with your offering exceeding your tithe. Guess what else I share with them? I'm okay with your offering exceeding your tithe. But preach on it. Look at what Paul says in Acts 20:20. You know that I have not hesitated to preach what? Anything that will be helpful to you. Oh, is that a strong passage or what? You know that I have not hesitated to preach anything that would be helpful to you. You think preaching on money is helpful for people? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Because many individuals' greatest frustration is something ain't right with their money. Their financial situation is not where they want it to be. And I hear a lot of people say, well, Pastor, I just can't give like that because I'm on a fixed income. You know what I say to them? Most people in life are on a fixed income. If you're a salary position, come on. If you're an hourly position, you got a fixed income. And not only are most people on a fixed income, but most people's income is fixed in a way where they would like for it to be repaired. Preaching. And then here's number 5. Setting an example personally is an action pastors can take to advance the church financially. Setting an example personally. Setting an example personally is an action pastors can take to advance the church financially. Acts chapter 20, verse number 35, look what Paul says. And I have been a what? Constant example on how you can help those in need by working hard. And you should remember the words of the Lord Jesus. What did Jesus say? It's more blessed to give than to receive. It's more blessed to give. Setting an example. Paul says, I've been an example. And can I share with you, Pastor? Can I share with you, man of God? Can I share with you, woman of God? Sometimes the giving in your church has not improved and is not, you have not been able to advance the finances in your church. It's because you're not a tither. Ooh, I know that sting a little bit. And you're generally asking people to do what you don't do yourself. Well, when we are in person, you know what I make it a habit of doing? I make it a habit of every time we have an offering, people see something in my hand. People see something in my hand. People see something in my hand. Now, just because something is not in your hand does not mean that you're not giving, because there are so many ways that people can give now through the electronic methods. And then some people could drop their tithes off at the church. Some people can mail it in. But I know that when I stand on a Sunday morning for worship, that I have a good number of people in person and they're watching me, and I want them to see something in my hand. And then likewise, I know that there are people that I don't even see. Now, where are they? Where are they? In the cyberspace sanctuary. And I want them to see something in my hand. Setting an example. All right, let's look at those 5 again. Look at those 5 again. Casting the vision regularly is something pastors can do to advance the church financially. Holding leaders accountable faithfully is something pastors can do to advance the church financially. Offering classes on money consistently is something pastors can do to advance the church financially. Preaching on the subject of money regularly is something pastors can do to advance the church financially. And then setting an example personally is something pastors can do to advance the church financially. Of the five, which one would you say, those of you who are here in the building with me, which one would you say is the easiest for you? Is the easiest for you? Which we have a few pastors who are sitting in here. Which one would you say is the easiest for you? Preaching on it. That's the easiest for you. Why would you say that's the easiest for you? Because you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem preaching. You don't have a problem saying what needs to be said. Okay, good. When it comes to money, because you're a giver. I like that. Don't have a problem. I like that. What would you say? Setting an example. I like that.
That's just the ministry that I came in, that I was developed in.
Yes. The ministry that you came from, you saw your pastor as an example. And you made up your mind, in the church where I serve, I want to be an example. I like that. Which one would you say is the hardest? Holding leaders accountable. Wow. Say more about that. Got a small church. Got a small church. You ain't trying to run nobody off. Get what you get. Thank you for your honesty, brother. Trying to get a building, and trying to be too hard. I'm glad you said that. I was talking to a pastor one day, and he was telling me about all of the rules and all of the requirements and all the regulations that people had to do to be in ministry, to be engaged in ministry. And I said, wow. I said, how big is your church? He says, about 7 of us. I say, that's why the church, you gotta loosen up some. He said, Dr. Lee, how you guys say? Oh no, when we first got started, do what you want to do, however you want to do. I didn't care whether you were saved or unsaved. I needed bodies. I like that. What would you say? What do you think would be the hardest? Offering classes. Yeah. And watch this. You never know if they're going to come until you offer it. Come on. They got a slogan about the lottery. And guess what they say? We can't pay if you don't play. And you know what that made me do? Play. And likewise, people can't take the classes if you don't offer the classes. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. All right, let's go to section 2. Section 2 is partnerships needed to advance your church financially. Listed below are organizations churches can consort with to improve their finances. Listed below are organizations churches can consort with. I don't know if you were in here in the class I taught right before this class, but I talked about that there are always churches that are higher up than you that you can reach up and glean things from. And then there are churches lower than you that you can reach down and give back. And I just think we try to do too much on our own. Let me give you 5 resources, and I've used all 5 of these resources at some point in the life of Berean. They're in alphabetical order. Churches can better their finances by partnering with Blessed Life. Make note that Robert Morris, he is the senior pastor of the Gateway Baptist Church, the Gateway Church that is right outside of Dallas, Texas. And he has a wonderful book, probably the best book I've ever read on finances before I take Earl's material and write my own. It's the best one that I read. It's called The Blessed Life. The Blessed Life. And we've taken that book at our church and used it as a book club. A book club. See, that's one way to offer classes. Quit thinking you got to come up with your own curriculum. There's stuff out there that other people have done, that other people are doing, and you can put that in the hands. You can put that in the hands. Blessed Life, Robert Morris. And then there's a curriculum. Churches can better their finances by partnering with Crown Ministries. Crown Ministry. It's a big, thick book. I wish I had brought it to show it to you, but I could make it available for you. Just let me know. I can show you how you can access it. But you can just go online and look it up. But it's curriculum. It's curriculum that people can study on a weekly basis, Number 3, churches can better their finances by partnering with Financial Peace. That's Dave Ramsey. Now let me say this. All of the people whose resources I've used, I don't agree with all of their philosophies. I don't agree with all of their practices. Watch this. But there's enough stuff that they do that's helpful. And then you need to know that sometimes when you partner up with some of these people, sometimes their goal is for you to buy the resources they have and to get people so that they can have access to them. But you just have to keep your main thing the main thing, and to be able to separate what they're trying to do and what you need to do. But Financial Peace has an array of resources and curriculum that can help, and that's with Dave Ramsey. And then here's a brother that many people don't know. Churches can better their finances by partnering with Maximum Generosity. Pull it up online. Maximum Generosity. The author, the leader of it, is a fellow by the name of Brian Kluth, Kluth. Brian Kluth. Several years ago when we did the Pastors and Leaders Conference, I contacted him and I shared with him I was just trying to do something and what material did he have available, because I had heard his name somewhere else. And when I contacted him, he called me back directly. And he said, how many people are coming to your conference? And at that year, we had about 500 people register. Guess what he did? He sent me a devotional book, a financial devotional book, 500 of them. And we put it in the bag of all of those who registered for the conference. Now, I don't know if he was doing that just to be a blessing. He was. Or I don't know if he was doing that because he knew that there were going to be hundreds of pastors here, and if they get the information, they could begin to look at him and utilize his servant. It didn't matter. It gave me a tool to introduce people to help them. My point is, quit thinking that you got to do this thing all by yourself. There are people out there. There are resources out there. And one of the greatest gifts that you can have is the gift of discernment, being able to know what to do, when to do it, and who to connect with as you do it. And then finally, number 5, churches can better their finances by partnering with Ron Blue Institute. Ron Blue is a Christian leader who thought it was his purpose, his goal, his objective, his agenda to provide financial literacy books for the body of Christ. And he has a lot of information, You can just pull up these people's name just by way of website and see what's available for them. I believe also Rick Warren, the Purpose-Driven Life, who the author of that. Rick Warren, Saddleback Church in California. Rick Warren has financial material. Another fellow by the name of Buster Soaries. Buster Soaries is an African-American pastor who recently just retired from his church after serving there 34, 35 years. And he has a whole curriculum on economic empowerment and how to help your members to get out of debt and to access many of the funds and finances that are available to them as individual. My point is, you can't do this thing all by yourself. Partnerships. The biggest room in the world is the room for what? Improvement. The greatest resource in the world are people. Your car isn't the greatest resource. Your job isn't the greatest resource. It's relationship. As a matter of fact, I believe relationships are so vital, so valuable, is that the root of most people's joy or frustration can be traced back to a relationship somewhere. You believe that? That the root of most individuals' frustration or joy can be traced back to a relationship. There's somebody right now smiling and giddy because every time you think of this person, that relationship, it just causes you to have so much joy. And then there's some folks, every time you think about them, it just make you want to cuss, because of the bad relationship that you have with them. So there's partnerships. Let's close with stewardship needed. Stewardship needed to advance your church financially. Listed below are prudent, not prude, but prudent. Prudent means wise. Prudent practices for churches seeking to advance financially. And these are in alphabetical order and not in order of priority. Well, you know what? I don't even think they're in alphabetical order. I think they're in the order that I gave them to, and they just typed it out just like that. All right, but it works. All right. Most of it is in alphabetical order. I see one that should have been before a couple others, but hey, it's all good in the neighborhood. Number one, churches should seek to save money intentionally. Churches should seek to save money intentionally. Why are you down on your members about saving money and the church don't save no money? The church spends everything that comes in. The church should save money, and you got to save it what? Intentionally. When you do something intentionally, what does that mean? You got a plan. You've thought about this thing. Mother Lee, my mother, who's 84 years of age, says, whatever you do, think it through. Whatever you do, think it through. 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 8 is the story about the 4 lepers and how they go into this enemy camp. And when they get there, the camp has been left abandoned, and they have everything for them to access. Look what it says. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp. They entered one of the camps, and they ate and they drank. Then they took silver, they took gold, and they took clothes, and they went off and hid them. And then they went into another camp and began to do the same thing. Look at what they did. They got silver and they got gold, and they hid it. You know what that meant? They saved it. They put it away. Now, they're doing well, but they also put stuff away. Why? Because you never know when hard times are coming. When I'm preaching this, Pastor Sean, I talk about how it said that they got something to eat, they got something to drink, they got the money, and they got the clothes. Those are the 4 things that they got. When I preach it, I said that God gave them nourishment. They ate something. I say that God gave them refreshment. They drank something. God gave them payment. They got the silver and the gold. And then I say God gave them accoutrements. They got the clothes. Well, my preacher's always looking for a good outline. Come on. God gave them nourishment. God gave them refreshment. God gave them payment. God gave them accoutrement. And if you can't pronounce accoutrement, just say God gave them raiment. Accoutrement just means stuff. Churches should seek to save money intentionally. Save money. What percentage of the income that comes into your church are you looking to save? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Okay. Number 2, churches should seek to secure money differently. Secure money differently to advance financially, which means the more streams of income that you have coming into your church, the better it is. Everything just can't come in by way of tithes and offering because you never know what people are going to do. And there are a lot of churches out there who have just done some very inventive projects where they have money coming in by way of rental assistance. They have money coming in by way of a bookstore. They have money coming in by way of an academy. They have money coming in by way of some partnership that they may have established with somebody in the community. Okay. There's some churches got money coming in by way of vending machines. Come on now. There are all kind of ways. Ecclesiastes 11, chapter 2 says, invest what you have in several different businesses because you don't know when disaster is coming your way. Number 1, churches should seek to save money intentionally. Number 2, churches should seek to secure money differently. Number 3, churches should seek to spend money purposefully. Spend money purposefully. Spend money on purpose, as opposed to spending money impulsively. Teach it all, Pastor. Proverbs 31, verse 16 talks about the Proverbs 31 woman. She goes to inspect a field and buys it, and with her earning, she plants a vineyard. She doesn't just buy a field, but she what? Inspects it. She checks it out, and we ought to seek to spend money purposefully. And then here's number 4. Churches should seek to budget money strategically. Budget money strategically. Budget money strategically. Luke chapter 14, verse 21. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and do what? Estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? I learned this. I learned this. I was sharing with you about Minister Earl Moulton. I learned this through him, is that a budget tells your money where it's going. A budget tells your money where it's going, as opposed to your money telling you where it's going. And you do know money speaks, right? You do know money speaks. Money talks. The best piece of poetry I ever heard about money talking, it went like this. Money does speak. That I cannot deny. Every time I hear mine speak, it says bye-bye. Money does speak. That I cannot deny. Every time I hear mine speak, it says bye-bye. Budget strategically. And then ask yourself when you get ready to spend, is this a part of the budget? And then number 5, this is a big one here. Churches should seek to track money monthly. Track money monthly. You ought to sit down with your finance people. You need to sit down with leaders. You need to sit down with whoever it is that you deem needs to be at the table and look at how much money came in, how much went out, and the money that went out, did we spend that purposefully? Did we spend that according to the budget strategically? Track money. That's just good as an individual. If you really want to see where your money is going, get a receipt for everything you do. And then sit down at the end of the week and look and see where you're spending most of your money. Proverbs 27, verse 23 and 24 says, riches can disappear fast. Somebody ought to shout where you are. I know that's right. Riches can disappear fast. And the king's crown doesn't stay in the family forever. So watch your business interests closely and know the state and flocks of your herds. Watch your business carefully. You know what he's talking about? Being able to manage, being able to track, being able to know what's coming in and what's going out. And I want you to know that these are some principles and some practices that can help to advance your church financially. It's been a joy to share with you this class. I trust it's been a blessing to you. Let us know how we can come alongside and help you send an email, info@bereanchristianchurch.org, or you can email me directly, kerwin.lee@bereanchristianchurch.org. We're about to transition to our final track for this afternoon, and there will be classes that start at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, that's 5 minutes from now. And the classes will be addressing the needs of seniors in your church and the community, how to tap into those elderly people in your church and in your community. That's Sarah Talley. She serves as our minister to senior adults. And then enhancing online experience for worshipers, how to keep those who worship virtually engaged. Krista Edwards, one of our young adults who's very gifted to share about online experience. And then I'll be sharing a class on establishing a work from home policy. Since so many people are working from home, establishing a work from home policy, and then growing your people through virtual platforms. That's our pastor of Christian Ed, Dr. Rodney Mason, who's going to talk about how you can grow people and they don't necessarily have to come to the church. So log in for the class of your choice. If you want to stay in the class that I'll be teaching, then you can just stay right where you are. But we're going to prepare for that, and we'll be back momentarily. Thank you so much for letting us bring to you